you should prefer somebody else.
Mudit, you are live on all the social media. Let's not.
Hey, yeah, it's nice to be here. Sorry, I didn't have my mic connected, but I'm glad to be here.
Okay. So you didn't want your brother to be here, but you are the first attendee to attend his webinar. So I guess thank you so much for joining in.
And Julian, you must also know that, I recently wrote a book, and Sumit has read that book more times than I have to edit it. And so he, I love the criticism that he provides. It really, really helps.
Wow. And what a name of the book. I just loved it. I mean, have heard the song, but, the book name, I'll not spill the beans right away. So yeah, we'll be waiting another 2-3 minutes, Mudit, and then we'll start. Yeah. Hi, Nagendra, another very regular attendee. Hi, Chandu.
Hi, Julian.
Hi. So what's your expectation, Chandu? Yesterday it was all about RPA. Today?
No expectations, Deepa. Just like something new thing to me. I just want to observe like what I don't have any expectations on this topic.
Okay, that's good. Come with a clean slate and then write whatever you want and learn.
Exactly.
That's good. Thank you.
Yes.
So, yeah, Sumit, are you in the same profession, or if I can ask you, like?
No, actually, I'm a control software engineer. I am writing program and designing conveyors and robots at automotive plants.
Oh, okay. So you will be the great guest speaker for our technical session. Wow.
Yeah, I might not be as eloquent as Mother.
But technical speakers just need to be technical, you know. Eloquent.
You got it.
So yeah. Srini, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, completely agree, Jilan. Good to see you're creating positive vibes in the community. Please keep going.
Yes. And Sumit is based in the US. He's in Louisville right now.
Oh my God. Okay. It's like, slowly the beans are spilling. Yeah, okay. I'm contacting you, Sumit. Okay, do you have a manager as well? Or can I contact you directly?
Oh, I mean, you can contact me directly if you want. I wouldn't mind that.
Okay, absolutely. And you are all set for another webinar for sure. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll just have another minute going, and then I think we can start. Hi, Deepa.
Hi,
Hi, Nagendra. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Nagendra, you have any inputs, comments, expectations?
Hey, Julian. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
No, just I want to learn something from this webinar. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll get started. Welcome all to this session of our Let Us Talk It webinars. We, literally we have our Independence Day coming day after tomorrow here in the US, and then we have our Independence Day in India next month. So what crossed my mind was overcoming colonial rule is certainly a good reason to celebrate. But recently, with this much of uncertainty and what's going around us, if we can overcome a little bit of that, I would definitely feel that it would be independence to individually for ourselves. And what could be better to have a topic like how to manage uncertainty, learn strategies to manage anxiety, shift your mindset, and innovate in times of uncertainty. And here we are with this amazing topic, I think right on time. And to deliver and to delve deep into the topic, we have a millennial, Mudit Yadav, with us. He is the founder of My Success Coach and works as a keynote speaker and internationally certified success coach. He has spoken to more than 400,000 people from more than 48 countries, and also at multiple TEDx events, and which I have heard him speaking on YouTube as well. He is the author of the book, Be Invincible, The Mindset, Skills, and Habits for Sustainable Growth and Success. At 23, he had become India's youngest coach and also works with celebrities, executives, and entrepreneurs to be more successful, develop greater presence, enhance their communication, and lead a life of abundance. He has conducted sessions for Google India, IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Calcutta, XLRI, Big Four firms, and of course, after today's session, we can add LetUsTalkIT Webinars as well. He represented India in 2014 at London for a speech contest and ranked finalist among 44,000 global contestants. He is also a chartered accountant and ex-strategy consultant from PwC. Now, Mudit, can you realize that how incompetent we feel after we read that profile of yours? But you don't know how much of an inspiration you are. Thank you so much. Over to you. We are absolutely overwhelmed and honored to have you on our session.
Thanks, Julian. You have no clue how embarrassed I feel when the introduction is being read. I'm happy that we are having webinars now, because when the same introduction is being read when I'm on stage, I don't know where to look. At least here I have the option to switch out the video when I feel very embarrassed. And it is an honor to be here. I love the work that you're doing and the range of topics. And special thanks to everyone who's made it to this webinar from whatever time zone you're joining in. Before I begin, may I request you, if possible, to close your eyes and observe 30 seconds of silence for all of those people who thought that working from home is going to be much easier than working from office. No, but seriously, so that's where the uncertainty comes in, right? You have a certain expectation, like, I wish I could wake up, I didn't have to go to any office, and I could work from home in my pajamas and everything. And now you realize that it's not that your Mondays are looking like your Fridays are looking like your Mondays. That's what happens when your office came to your home rather than the other way around. And Julian introduced this topic really well, how to deal with uncertainty. And Pierre, who's just joined the webinar, I love the comment that he made before we even started. We don't know what we don't know. But uncertainty for us human beings is one of the largest negative drivers. I remember I was talking to one of the members of the armed forces in India, one of the commanders, and I said, you know what, it's so difficult for you to wake up the training and you run for 20 kilometers, 40 kilometers, whatever it is. And he said, Mudit, that's not what is difficult. What is difficult is sometimes they would have us wake up and ask us to run and not tell us whether we are running 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 40 or 80. They would just say, we'll tell you. And that was more painful, because on those days when they didn't tell us how far we have to run, those days were the days we got tired the earliest. That's how much uncertainty impacts us as human beings. Every single morning you watch the news about when the vaccine is going to be developed, what is the fresh count, etc. What you're trying to do is put some certainty around this uncertainty that is going on with us right now. And what I'm here to tell you through this webinar today, one of the key points is that while trying to put certainty around uncertainties is great, and we are used to it. You see, even now that you have Google Maps, the times when you used to step out of the house, Even if it's your regular route, sometimes you check on Google Maps, okay, how long is it going to take me? Is it going to take me 20 minutes, 22 minutes, 24 minutes, 26 minutes? We always want certainty. In the past, soothsayers, astrologers have always tried to give certainty to your life. We follow them. Today, regression analysis, charts and graphs try to tell us the future. We watch the weather report every morning. We are trying to make uncertain things certain. But your vacation plans for 2020 have taught you that no matter how much certainty you try to bring to your life, you have absolutely no clue what's going to happen the next moment. So number one thing about dealing with uncertainty is accepting uncertainty, knowing that there is uncertainty and I can't do anything about it. And because I can't do anything about it, I should not try to do anything about it. And as I share this with you, my mind goes back to 1963, when Valentina Tereshkova, who was an astronaut from the Soviet Union, was selected from over 400 applicants to have a space journey. That was called the Vostok 6 mission. Extensive training, hundreds of the best scientists in the world were involved in that project, of the 6th project. The launch was in order, everything was going well. And when Valentina was in space, she realized that a space capsule was programmed to launch from Earth, but there was no descending mechanism. That means the space capsule wasn't programmed to get back to Earth. Now imagine you are in Valentina Tereshkova's position, thousands of miles away from home, in empty space, and realizing that your spacecraft is not programmed to return to Earth. You would freak out, wouldn't you? But she did not. She dialed back from the capsule to the chief scientist in the control room, Sergei Korolev, and said, this is what is happening. They got the game in position, sent her the coordinates, she put the code in, and she herself coded the capsule to come back to Earth. And she came back to Earth, lived a great life to tell the tale. You see, the reason I'm sharing this story with you is even when hundreds of the smartest people in the world came together for the Vostok 6th mission, that means they've had 5 such missions in the past, even with the best preparation possible on the planet, they could not let go of the uncertainty that was around space travel. Even then, there was an opportunity for something going wrong. They could not get the mission 100% in their control. And if they could not, and there are multiple such examples, then even we should not try to control the uncertainty aspect of our lives. But the challenge with uncertainty, and especially in a challenging time like this, is we start thinking in non-negative terms. Who here is saying 2020 is going to be the best year of my life? Nobody's saying that, except maybe Eric Yuan or Jeff Bezos, who are becoming richer by the day. But I'm sure even they have their challenges. Nobody's saying 2020 is going to be the best year of my life, because when there is a lot of uncertainty and challenges that are surrounding us, we don't think of innovation. We don't think of growth. As humans, we think of survival. We think of non-negatives. Nobody's thinking, I'm going to have a promotion this year. People are thinking, I want to save my job this year. I don't want to lose my job. So what's the difference? You're thinking, I don't want to lose my job versus I want a promotion. Maybe you were looking at a promotion before COVID happened, but now you're not looking at a promotion, you're looking at not losing my job. You're not looking at earning a lot of money. You're looking at, I should not run out of money. You're not looking at being healthy. You're looking at, I should not catch the virus. You see, I should not. So when we shift from the growth mindset to the survival mindset, you start thinking in should nots rather than I want to. And I call this non-negative thinking, which is the difference between growth mindset and survival mindset. But here's the problem with non-negative thinking. It's required. It is a mechanism that is inside you. It is hardwired through generations of evolution of your brain. You're in the survival mindset because that is what is important right now, survival. But the challenge with the survival mindset and the challenge with thinking in non-negative terms in the survival mindset is this. Let me do a very quick experiment with you. You may have done this before, but let us see it right now. I will give you a simple instruction. All I want you to do is follow that simple instruction, all right? The instruction is, do not think about a pink elephant. Don't think about a pink elephant. What you are doing right now is you are thinking about a pink elephant. How does this work? See, what is happening here is, even when you're thinking about not thinking about something that you don't want to think about, you're still thinking about that thing. Like that song that's stuck in your head. You know, you hear this weird song, you don't like it, but it's stuck in your head, keeps playing in your head. And the more you think about getting rid of that song, it plays in your head even more. That's the thing with negative thoughts. The more you think about, I don't want to think about this, the more you are actually thinking about it. Okay, Mudita, I understood what the problem is. Now tell me what to do. What do I do with these negative thoughts now? What do I do now? Think about a green elephant. Are you thinking of a green elephant? Now, when you're thinking of a green elephant, you are not thinking about a pink elephant that you didn't want to think about. And so if you're thinking in non-negative terms, you're still thinking about negative. And that is why I want to rewire your language, not just to others, but to yourself, from thinking in non-negative terms to thinking in optimistic terms. I don't want to catch the virus, to I want to become healthy. I want to stay healthy. I don't want to lose my job, to how can I work on expanding my career even here? I don't want this to be the worst year of my life. I want this to be a great year of my life. Rewiring that conversation will completely shift your perspective. And if there is a problem right now, history has told us that problems have always allowed humankind to not think in the survival mindset, but actually think in the growth mindset. World War II was done. I think Germany had just vacated Netherlands, but the worst was yet to come for them when a storm hit. Now, Netherlands, you should know, as a country, is about 26% of the country is below sea level. And so if a storm or a cyclone comes, you can imagine the kind of devastation that it can cause. And a few years after World War II, when such a cyclone did come, hundreds of people died, thousands of people were displaced. I think about 70,000 people were displaced and 200,000 farm animals died. The Dutch people decided that this cannot be. What do we do now? And so they planned on making these dikes outside, right? They already had dikes, but they were not good enough for that storm which hit them. I think it was the 1950s or the 1960s. I need to check the date. And so their old dikes broke, and now the Delta Committee is put in place to consider, what do we do now? How do we get done with this? So they decide, okay, we'll make a dike. The system of dikes and artificial islands, which will make sure that we can protect ourselves from these future storms. But the budget was too high. They somehow arranged the budget. Now, when they arranged the budget, the plan was passed. They realized that if they put those dikes in place, what will happen is the marine temperatures and the ecosystem around the country would change. That would do two things. Number one, the fishing ecosystem, etc., would die. So it would be a loss of livelihood. The second is people didn't want the environment to be hurt. Imagine 1950s, 1960s, people didn't want the environment to be hurt. I'm proud of them. And so they went back to the drawing board to construct it in such a way that the environment is not hurt. Even with such a budget constraint in such short time frame, they're still able to make a system where the environment doesn't get hurt and they're able to protect themselves from the storm. But there was another challenge that was coming up. The other challenge was, if we make dikes like that, our ports may get blocked. So international trade and our river systems will get blocked. How will we do that? And so they made dikes which are actually movable. That means when the ship comes in, the dikes can move. They did that. And today the Netherlands, the Dutch system of dikes and artificial islands is the best water management system in the world. It is one of the modern wonders of the world. And today, if anybody needs such an assistance, they go to nobody, but they call a Dutch firm. For example, when I think in New Orleans, there was a storm in, I think, Hurricane Katrina, which drowned 80% of the city. Who did they call? They called a Dutch firm, Arcadis, to make sure that they make a system wherein flood like that don't devastate them in future. Now, if the flood problem didn't happen in Netherlands, if they didn't face that uncertainty, then they would have never come up with that engineering marvel. So they didn't think in non-negative terms, they thought in positive terms. Look at a country like Israel, such a young country, and surrounded by not the best of neighbors. If you thought you have bad neighbors, think about Israel with Syria and Iran and Iraq, etc. And plus all of these countries come together and say, okay, we're going to attack Israel for the waters that they're using and all of these different things, whatever geopolitics was going on. They assemble an army, they want to attack Israel, and their combined army of these 5 or 6 countries is twice the Israeli army. And the Israelis aircrafts fly in the sky even before the war begins, destroys most of their aircrafts and tanks even before they can start the war. And the war was over before it began. Because Israel knows it is surrounded by neighbors like that, it has compulsory military commission. Because Israel knows it is surrounded by neighbors like that, it has one of the best agencies in the world, the Mossad. Because Israel knows it is surrounded by neighbors like that, it has one of the world's best tech companies. It has invested in technology, on its spy equipment, on its military. I don't need to talk about Israel's achievements in such a short span of time with so many problems. How was the country able to do that? It was because it faced uncertainty around its neighbors. It's because it faced problems. Not far away from my home, I live here in Mumbai, India. And a few hundred kilometers from here is the city of Bangalore, or Bangalore as its modern name is. I don't know if you've been to Bangalore. Lovely weather, lovely food, terrible traffic. So in Bangalore, they have this really old restaurant called MTR, Mavalli Tiffin Rooms. I think, guys, in the US, you would be getting those packed food, those packets of MTR, but they actually began as a small restaurant, I think in 1924. Now, when the World War II came in, they make all these South Indian dishes, which are very rice intensive, the idlis and the dosas. Sorry if I'm getting your mouth to water. I'm on a fast right now. I do intermittent fasting, so my mouth is watering. Should get a sip of water. Idlis and dosas feel the best in the country. They make it there. But when the World War II started, the shortage of rice. And when there was shortage of rice, they did not know how to make the staple food idli. So they said, what do we do now? They had to invent something else. It was not out of choice. And so they invented Rava idli. And today, people from across India travel to MTR Bangalore, not to eat their rice idli, but to eat the Rava idli. If that uncertainty, that problem hadn't come, they would have never invented something like that. And so if there is a problem in your life right now, I'm not saying problems are great, problems suck, they're bad. But now that the problem is here, you have two choices. Number one, do I think about this in non-negative terms of preserving what I have? And number two, I find out a way to, because this problem is disrupting my patterns of thinking and living, I find out a way to think in a different direction about my life, my career, the organization that I'm working for, the role, my family, my passion, my purpose, whatever it is. This is the opportunity. In a regular day, in a regular time, you don't get this opportunity because when times are great, there is no will to do something different, right? And the reason it is a difficult time right now is we are in a phase, and I love this word, it's called liminality. Liminality is a phase wherein we know that the future is not going to be the same as the past. The past is over and the future is going to be different. But how different? And what is going to be different about the future? We don't know that yet. And we won't know it until the vaccine comes in and the economy recovers a little bit. So we are in this transition phase in between on the past that is behind us and the future that is unknown. And this Little phase in between is called liminality. So you and I are right now in a phase of liminality where we're not sure what's going to happen in the future, and we know that the past is not going to be the same. And so it is scary. And a lot of people tell me I'm afraid, which I'll come to in just a bit. But I love this beautiful quote by E.L. Dr. Rao, is that life is like a night drive. You can never see beyond your headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. I'll repeat that. Life is like a night drive. You can never see beyond the headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. Talking about being afraid, a lot of people tell me, Udit, I'm afraid, top executives who I'm coaching, Udit, I'm afraid what's going to happen. Udit, I'm afraid if I'll have to fire some people. Let us try and understand what being afraid of what fear really means. Now, what you're feeling right now is not fear, but it is anxiety. How does it matter? I'm feeling something, right? Okay, let me try and understand, explain why it matters, and what's the difference between anxiety and fear. Recall the time when you were going for that difficult exam that you had not prepared for, and there are some engineers on the call today, and I know how engineers study. They study the night before the exam. At least engineers here in India. I think the ones in the US are more serious. My brother went to Purdue University. He's on the call today. I know he studied more seriously. My friends here who are engineering students, who were engineering students, have all studied the night before. But whether you are a great student or a not so great student, to put it mildly, imagine the evening before that difficult exam paper. Really go back to that time. Imagine that time when you're walking to the exam hall. Imagine that time. How did you feel then? What you felt then was anxiety. And when the question paper came in front of you, what you felt then was fear. So anxiety is the anticipation of fear. That's what anxiety is. And that's the difference between anxiety and fear. Let me give you a couple of more examples. You're passing through a forest. You see the grass rustling. You're not sure what's behind that grass. Is it the wind? Is it a tiger? I don't know. Anxiety. The face of the tiger comes out from that grass. Fear. When I was in college, there was this girl I wanted to talk to on Valentine's Day. I remember having a rose in my hand behind me, walking towards her, my strategy in place. I knew what I had to say. I feel like my heart's gonna beat itself out of my chest. The feeling that I'm having then, anxiety. I expressed my feeling to her. She had an expression on her face. What I felt then, I think you got it by now, fear. So what are you feeling right now about the future and about business and about your health and about your career? It's anxiety. And the reason it is important to understand this distinction is anxiety is a positive emotion. You have anxiety before any important event of your life. It is your body's mechanism to get ready for something that's important. If we didn't have anxiety before our exams, we would never perform well in our exams. You'd never prepare for them. I had anxiety before this session, even after doing 1,500 or 2,000 speeches across the world. If I don't have anxiety before the session, I will not prepare for this session. And perhaps you may not enjoy it. If you don't have anxiety before that proposal, you will not make the best of that proposal. So anxiety is a positive emotion. It is the best attention redirection tool that your body and mind have. Fear is a negative emotion. When you're afraid, you freeze. You don't know what to do. And hence, when you feel anxiety right now, tell yourself, first is acceptance. Okay, I accept that I'm feeling anxious right now. And second is embracing it. I love anxiety. It is good for me. I'm okay with it. Okay, well, I got it, but I accepted. Now what? I mean, how does it help? This experiment that was conducted, there were people, their brain activities are being mapped, right? The circuits are firing and whatever's going on. The brain activities are being mapped, and each of these participants are being made to feel a certain emotion. Somebody is made to feel, they're shown a video or a photo that makes them happy. Somebody is made to feel sad. Subject C is made to feel angry. Subject D embarrassed, so on and so forth. So everybody is made to feel a different emotion, and their brain activities are being tracked, right? And then each one of them is asked to describe the emotion that they're feeling. The happy guy says, I'm feeling happy. The sad guy says, I'm feeling sad. They try to explain the emotion. Angry guy, angry. Embarrassed guy says, I'm feeling embarrassed, this and that. You know what happened to their brain activity when they said this? Their brain activity reduced. So when the happy people and the happy person tried to describe he's happy, the happiness reduced. When the sad person tried to describe he's sad, the sadness reduced. When the angry person tried to describe he's angry, the anger reduced, so on and so forth. So just being able to recognize an emotion actually reduces the intensity of the emotion. So if you're feeling angry anytime, you can actually tell yourself, I'm feeling angry right now. And as obvious or stupid as it may sound, that actually does wonders in trying to reduce your anger. When I'm coaching top executives, they're stressed about something, or they're angry about a deal that didn't go through, etc. We sit in that session, they're still in that deal, they're not in the session with me. How do I get them back in the session? I ask them, how are you feeling right now? What are you feeling about this? 10 or 12 minutes exploring on how they're feeling. And before they realize, they've kept the emotion behind and they're focusing on the action. And for these people, time is of essence. So they can't afford to spend that much time on overthinking. And how do I get them into the session at that point in time? Through helping them recognize that emotion. So if you're able to recognize right now, what I'm feeling right now is anxiety and it is okay. Let me embrace it. You actually reduce your anxiety. And another way to reduce anxiety is by thinking about, in any situation that comes in your life, it's a very simple formula. Think about two questions. The first question is, what am I trying to control in this situation that I cannot control? The second question is, what is it that I can control in this situation that I'm doing nothing about? For those of you who want to note down, I'll repeat this. You ask yourself two questions in any given situation. The first question is, what is it that I'm trying to control in the situation that I cannot do anything about? The second question is, what is it that I can do something about, but I'm doing nothing about? When we're faced with a problem, we spend a lot of time thinking about things that we can't change anything. Oh, why did it have to happen this way? This is the worst timing for this crisis. God had this vacation plan, this, that. Focusing on what you cannot change. And it is doing no benefit to you. And that is taking away your limited thinking energy to what you would have focused on otherwise, and what can I still do in this situation? One of my friends, he was a director at one of big 4 consulting firms. He used to be a client, turned to be a friend, and they got closer to his family, and his family was super excited. They were a little kid. They had to go to Canada, right? The visa was in place. He had a job offer. He resigned from the big 4 entity here in India. And he was about to board a flight in 2 weeks. They had put the money, they had done the packing, they had sold the house furniture, everything around that. COVID-19 hits. His job offer in Canada is rescinded. Nobody is hiring here in India. This guy is stuck at his place without a job at the age of 45 with a wife and a kid. I'm talking to him and I tell him, this is the worst timing for this crisis to happen to you. And he said, not really, Mudit. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, actually, I realized in the last 22 days that, I didn't know how to live without a domestic help. Yeah, there in Canada, I would have to live all by myself. And I realized I don't know how to do housework. I don't know how to cook sambar. I don't know how to cook idli. He comes from southern India. And so in the last 15 or 20 days, this was just when the lockdown began here in India and we were speaking, I actually learned how to do all of these things. So maybe this lockdown here in India is like a crash course before I move to Canada. So I'm enjoying my time. And I don't know when, since my son was born, when I was able to play with him, make sketches with him, discover different hobbies. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. How are you doing this? Like, I'm like you told me, I'm not focusing on what I cannot do anything about. And I spoke to him a week or two ago, and there's still no movement on his job offer. I am more worried about him than he's for himself. There's so much power that you have when you tell yourself, I cannot control this, and so I won't try to control it. I'll just speak for about 8 to 10 minutes, and I'll talk about an experiment, and it's a story. That experiment never actually happened. But it's an interesting story, and it teaches us a lot about our behaviors. And I would like to invest the final 8 to 10 minutes on this experiment and a couple of more points so that we can make the most of this time that we have wherein this phase of liminality is going through. Okay, so this is called the monkey ladder experiment, which it is as funny as it sounds. So there were 8 monkeys. They were put in a cage. Now in the cage, there are 8 monkeys. There's a ladder, and on top of the ladder, there is a bunch of bananas which is hanging. So whenever a monkey tries to climb the ladder and grab a banana, all the monkeys are sprayed with icy cold water. A few monkeys try a few times to go and grab it, but they're sprayed with icy cold water. Now they're not trying. Now, it so happens that they know they're going to be sprayed with icy cold water. They don't want to try to get the bananas. But if any of the monkeys ever tries to get the bananas, the other monkeys pull him down and beat him because they don't want to get sprayed with cold water. Now, it so happens that out of the 8 monkeys, the scientists replace one monkey with a new monkey who doesn't know how things happen around here. And so this new monkey, who has never been sprayed with cold water, tries to climb the ladder. Now, the scientists have stopped spraying cold water, but the monkeys don't know that. So the new monkey, who's never been sprayed with cold water, tries to get the bananas, wondering why is nobody getting those bananas. The other monkeys pull him down, the older monkeys, and they beat him. The new monkey is confused. He tries again, the other monkeys pull him down and beat him. He doesn't know why they're doing that, but all right. The scientists replace a second old monkey with a new monkey. Now there are these 2 monkeys who've never been sprayed with cold water. The second monkey now tries to climb the ladder to get the bananas. All the other monkeys pull him down and beat him, including the one new monkey who had never been sprayed with cold water. The third monkey was replaced. Now there are 3 new monkeys, 5 old monkeys. The third monkey tries to get the bananas. The other monkeys pull him down and beat him, including the 2 new monkeys who never got sprayed with cold water. Now, if you slowly, all of those monkeys were replaced by new monkeys. Now there are 8 new monkeys. None of them ever got sprayed with cold water. But whenever a monkey tries to climb the ladder to get those bananas, the other monkeys pull him down and beat him. And if you ask those monkeys, why are you doing this? Maybe the monkey would say, well, I don't know. That's how things happen around here. When was the last time you heard those words? I don't know. That's how things happen around here. When I was at a consulting firm, I heard these exact combination of words multiple times. And when these words are said, think of it that sooner or later, that business, that person, or that company is going to get disrupted. Because while they're focusing on the what of things, they've forgotten why they even began to do certain things. And so if there is a disruption going on right now in your business processes, it is a good time for you to come back, take a step back and ask why. And as leaders, if you're listening to this, I wanted to encourage that culture of people asking why and people asking the tough questions. And for all those who are to be leaders in future, make sure that you talk to your leaders in a positive manner, in a questioning manner, out of curiosity, not out of interrogation. Why are we doing this? And is there any way to do it better? And here's an alternate solution that I propose. In Japan, they have these cube-shaped watermelons. Cube-shaped watermelons, and why do they do that? First of all, how do they grow cube-shaped watermelons? Are supposed to be round, right? They grow cube-shaped watermelons because when watermelons are little, they're just growing up. They put a cube around the plant, so when the watermelon grows, its shape and size gets restricted to the cube, and so it becomes a cube-shaped watermelon. They do it for the ease of transport, because round objects are harder to transport than cube-shaped objects. I really think that our thinking, you and I both, our thinking has got restricted to an invisible cube. Because we talk to the same kind of people every day, we watch the same kind of news, switch on the same kind of channels, watch the same kind of shows, read the same kind of things. And so you don't know, but there's this cube-shaped thought bubble that is around you right now. And more than ever right now, you need to take the opportunity to disrupt your own thought process. And how do you do that? Read something that you don't like to read, something different. Talk to somebody who you're not comfortable in talking to. Watch the kind of show that you're not comfortable watching. How do these things help? They help because they poke that cube-shaped bubble that you have around your thought process, and it expands it. Because when you are talking to the same kind of people, reading the same kind of things, watching the same kind of things, there's a pattern which develops in your thinking, and it's important for you to break that pattern. And there is no better time to break that pattern when there is a natural disruption that is going on around you, like it is going on around right now. And for disruption like this, and for disruptions in the future, the number one thing that will help you keep moving, and a word which you may have heard a lot of times in the past, I'm not talking about social distancing, I'm talking about agility. And what I mean about agility here is, okay, you have a primary skill set that you rely on, but do you have a secondary skill set that you can fall back on? You are used to working with a certain kind of team, but can you very quickly work with a different kind of team? You're used to having a certain things in a certain way, but can you have things in a different way? You're used to learning a certain way, can you learn in a different way? You're used to doing one kind of job, can you quickly do another kind of job? You're used to working in one location, can you quickly move on to another location? You have one skill right now, can you quickly learn another skill? That is what is agility. Mental agility, physical agility, agility to work with different kinds of people. If you're not agile right now, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted because my mind goes back to a scene in the Mahabharata when Bhim and Lord Hanuman were talking to each other. So Hanuman, Lord Hanuman is a god in the Hindu scriptures. Mahabharata is an Indian epic. So Lord Hanuman is perhaps the strongest being in the universe, and Bhim is perhaps the strongest being on planet Earth. And Hanuman tells Bhim that, my son, remember, agility and strength are not different things. Agility is strength. And that is a message that the last message that I'd like to leave you today with is agility and strength are not different things. Agility is strength. So think about all of those things that you're uncomfortable doing and make sure that you start to do a little bit of them. Because in case you have to do more of them in future, you are ready for it. Great. That was from my side. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. And Julan, over to you.
Oh my God. Did the webinar end? I mean, there's no hurry. Mudit, you can go ahead. I mean, it's just, I just want this webinar to go on, you speaking.
That's very kind of you, Julan. Thank you.
Rava dosa to monkey story, and if it's all just awesome. Just yeah, this question is for Sumit. or how on earth did you even say that he doesn't belong to this, type of job? Just because he is in the family, you cannot even say that. I mean, it was just wonderful. I have no words to say. Yeah. Anybody, any question, any comments?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the story about the monkey. I actually started laughing as soon as you said they pulled him down and beat him. That was very, very interesting. And me personally, I like to learn new things. You know, even though I'm a developer, I usually tend to do a bunch of other trades. I also cut hair. That's a passion of mine. I do UX designs. You know, I have a property here in Charlotte, and I just recently turned that into an Airbnb. And I'm a big yes. So I'm a big fan of also grass. Like I like looking at grass. I like learning about how it grows and everything like that. And one thing that a lot of people tend to tell me is like, Pierre, you're doing too much. Why don't you just, stay focused on one thing? And, my brain doesn't work that way. It's like if there's an obstacle, I want to learn why it happens.
Wow.
In the job field, a lot of companies kind of have that same perspective too. They figure, hey, we're investing into you to learn to do this. Don't learn how to do something else. And you kind of get stuck in the cube, just like you mentioned with the watermelon. So even though you want to grow, that company does not want you to grow because I guess they want you to stay there. How do you feel about that?
I think, Pierre, first of all, I am not surprised when you mention all the things that you do, because, Julian mentioned that you're a regular attendee, which clearly shows that you have this inclination to learn different things. So thank you for doing that. Now, to your question, and I understand that the question is, I want to grow, I want to do different things, but my organization does not allow me to do all these different kind of things. And I would love to acknowledge that as a legit concern. That is something that I've heard multiple times before as well. And I completely agree that it is a challenge. And I would like to go back to those two questions, Pierre, that we discussed. What is it that I'm trying to control here that I cannot control? And what is it that I can do here that I am not doing? So if my company is not allowing me to do certain things my way, then is it that what I'm doing, other than what I'm doing, is it not valuable enough for the organization? And are my goals and is my purpose misaligned with the organization, the team that I'm working with? And I think it is for us and the organization also to make sure that this purpose realigns. And so these different things that you're working on is realigned with the organization's purpose, and thinking, okay, there is something that we needed, and now Pierre is also filling this certain need. So this is my response, Pierre. I don't know if you got your answer.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Thanks.
So Mudit, yeah, that's a great session. And I learned a new word, liminality. So
beautiful.
I started reading, more about that. Speaking about that, in terms of, businesses, do you have more insights into how, business owners, should manage this uncertainty, and any real life examples, that I'm more interested that you came across or you want to share?
Sure. Srini, where are you based out of, if I may ask?
Detroit. Michigan.
Srini, I don't know if you've heard about this company, Swiggy in India, which is a food delivery startup, right? You have. Yes. I was having a conversation with their chief HR officer recently, and what they've done is phenomenal. So they have close to overnight, practically a week or so, moved from being a delivery service for delivering food from restaurants to people's houses to delivering groceries from grocery shops to people's houses. And he explained this whole process on how fast they moved around. So they didn't send out those typical long HR forms or images or emails, because they knew that the delivery drivers, etc., the people who they're appealing to, people are a lot of them can't read and write that level of information that they had to convey to them. So overnight, they had those videos developed in local languages to educate their drivers on how they can take care of themselves, on how they had to educate them on how to wash hands, on how to pick up the groceries, on how to deliver groceries, how to treat groceries different as compared to how they treated food, and what is the company doing for them in terms of getting them a medical insurance, those kind of things. So that is a pivot that, from a people perspective and the kind of people that they were dealing with, was so difficult. And here it was a complete lockdown, right? Like Srini, and they were able to manage this and pull this off in such a short span of time. I love that. Mr. Lakshmanan MT, who is the chief HR officer again of L&T. This was a smaller organization compared to Swiggy that I gave the example. A larger organization like L&T, what they did is they actually created an app. They created an app within a short span of time called VCare, wherein employees can update their status on how are they feeling, their health, are they having any problems, and to decide how many of them can actually come to office, how many should not, what reshuffling that they need to do. That is something that they were able to create in such a short span of time. Restaurants like Domino's overnight moved from delivering pizzas to delivering groceries. You must have heard of the deals that Reliance Jio did, and it's creating this whole ecosystem to deliver internet-based services to the people of India. I think on a business perspective, and great question, Srini, thanks for asking. On a business perspective, this is what some organizations are doing to really use this opportunity to reinvent themselves in such a difficult time. I have all my respect for them.
Yeah, great examples. Yep.
And even here in the US, if you look at the Panera breads, they discovered suddenly that they've got a lot of inventory and then they are not able to sell them, meaning the restaurants were ordered closed. So they also quickly switched to selling groceries and whatever items they had in their inventory, they sold and turned around cash, you know?
Wow.
That is in the US with a company called
Great
Panera.
Example. Yes.
And secondly,
I love that
the doctors whom you go to meet with the doctor, it is a 30-minute appointment, but going, coming, and taking your weight, everything came up to about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And this coronavirus created what is known as the telemedicine, which in simple form is nothing but your FaceTime on your cell phone. You can meet your doctor remotely and have the consulting done. And it cut down the consulting time phenomenally. Like instead of spending 2.5 hours for a meet, you were able to do it in 10 or 15 minutes. They were very, very productive calls. Okay. Patient care was not compromised, but then they found a new viable method of delivering these services,
And what interests me about what you're saying, Raj, is so many of these things are here to stay even after COVID-19 settles down.
Yeah, I agree, because that should incidentally bring down the cost of care, okay, particularly for senior citizens who need more care than what the government can provide in terms of Medicare, Medicaid. Those senior citizens can consult the doctor remotely, meaning those non-critical care requirements.
Absolutely.
And their consulting, the copay they need to pay for such a remote call can be cheaper. And they can have their dollars for other purposes. Perfect. And there is, these kind of opportunities open your eyes to many opportunities, and sometimes you fall upon them. you stumble upon them, and then that becomes a great big business opportunity.
Just brilliant example, Raj, and so apt to our conversation.
Yeah, and also like you said, even after objectively doing everything, whatever examples we discussed are for the retail and the mass-based industries. Whereas me and Srini Tota, we are in the IT segment, and which is more corporate demanding, corporate level demand services. Yeah. And there we are saying very choking demanding patterns because people don't have budgets. Where they have budgets, they don't know what to spend. They don't want to know. They want to know which way the economy will go, whether it will be a V-shaped recovery, U-shaped recovery, or no recovery at all. Because now even more greater bad news is coming. So a solution for the business to business services like mine and Srini Tota, we have a very big challenge ahead of us, and we need to drastically rethink. Okay, there is no quick refix, quick turnaround like in a retail market. Okay. Where you can service thousands and thousands of clients, there is a lot more flexibility and leeway. Okay. So we are still saddled, but then, we might want to think of new lines of business. Okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the crux of it, the new lines of new thinking. I mean, that's, and I love that quotation, Mudit, life is like a night drive. We absolutely don't think that way. We all want to see the end at the, I mean, we do reach at the end, but definitely we cannot see beyond that headlights. Beautiful expression, I mean, quotation, and beautifully explained. Yeah. Any other question, comments?
Yeah, Julan. Hey, Mudit. It was a nice presentation, and you are very close to the screen. And when you're explaining the things, like I was visualizing myself, and I was in a feel like I was watching a movie. Okay. So that was an awesome
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So when you give the movie reviews out of 5, it is out of 5 is 5. Okay. So when you're talking about the agility and strength, like I got 2 questions. One is from the work perspective, and second one is the personal. Okay. So from the work perspective, if any company, any big organization want to go with the change, okay, and the change is in an agile process, and most of the employees will not be adapted to that kind of uncertainty. I think they feel like it's an uncertainty and they cannot adapt to that situation. So do you know like how to handle this kind of situation? Is there any other programs which can be a part of that?
Okay, you want to ask the second question right now? Should I answer this one first?
No, first you answer this question, then let's go to the second question.
Okay, it's like Kaun Banega Crorepati here in India. Okay, so I think Nagendra, what you're putting through is a very crucial question, and I'm not sure if there is a blanket answer to this, and if I can give that answer. But most of this change has to flow top down. Now, what do I mean by that? Is if the leadership comes together and in a way decides that, okay, we have to go through this change and we have to do it in a certain way, it is much easier for that change to percolate than people at the bottom of the chain thinking that, okay, we got to change something in a particular direction. People at the bottom of the chain have very limited say unless the leaders at the top have allowed them that flexibility to present ideas, or second, when the organization is more horizontal. But if the leaders are agile and they think that, okay, we have to do certain things a certain way, you won't believe how easy is it to percolate. You know, when the worst of things happened in the past, wherein people have committed the worst of crimes, if we talk about the concentration camps or before that, the worst of those crimes were committed because the leader was convinced that those crimes should be committed. And as it percolated to the bottom, the soldiers believed that, okay, it is okay to commit these crimes. And now looking back, perhaps their own families or when those things were done would say, how could people do something which was so cruel? And so we really underestimate the impact that the whole organization, the culture has, just because how one person at the top thinks about certain things. So that is my response to this question, Nagendra.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mohit. The other question from the personal life. Okay, so uncertainty might be at any level, and for example, like if we take the incident happened with the Sushant Singh, right? So I have watched this movie Chichore. Okay, it was a very beautiful movie. Okay, so it teaches you a lot of things. Okay, and this when I'm talking about agility, which is a strength, right? So how to develop strength or confidence, those kind of things. Even after doing such kind of film, he had gone to that phase and he's no more. And people are there in the world, because 7.8 billion population in the world. I think there will be around 80% of the people having uncertainty where they cannot think in a positive direction, right? So for those kind of people, who and how the uncertainties can be can be resolved. Because you are here today for us to tell how to do the things, okay? Right. So in 7.8 billion world population, how are those 80% of the people are going to get the solutions? Who is going to help them? Even from the students, okay, if, in all departments also. Because recently I was going through such things, and I didn't get a chance to talk to anyone. But luckily, when I got this agility and strength, so I would like to ask this question to you.
I think that's a loaded question, Nagendra, in a way that you've got me thinking on how this can be done. And again, I'm not sure if I have the right answer to this. I heard that 80% of the people in the world have uncertainty. If I go with that heuristic, then 80% of the people in the world are uncertain about what they want to do. The other 20% of the people think they're certain about what they want to do, but that will change. And I'll tell you why, Nagendra, because the whole concept of long-term goals is flawed in the way that you create your goals with a static understanding of your existing environment. But as humans, you saw something on TV about Sushant that has changed the way you think in a little bit manner. Maybe you attend this session. Maybe it will change the way you think in a little bit manner. You wake up, you watch the news, it changed the way you look a little bit manner. You read something. Every single day, you're having all of these inputs, which are changing the way you're thinking in micro manners. And if every single day like I read this beautiful quote that every day things seem to be the same, but when you look back after a few years, everything has changed. Because every single day, physically, mentally, environment wise, things are changing in such small ways that you're not able to decipher the change until you look at it from a macro perspective. I mean, how many of us are here are exactly where we thought we were going to be 10 years ago? Mm-hmm. And so how can we be really sure that we are going to be where we think we're going to be 10 years later? We're not going to be there. And so goals or certainty, where we think, and I had written this quote, I put it up on LinkedIn and Instagram a few years ago, and then again recently, is we'll never be where we want to be, because once we are there, we want to be somewhere else. And so our goals and our certainty is not static. It is dynamic. It is like a living, breathing organism. Like as you move closer towards it, it moves further away from you. And so, Nagendra, you will never, and don't know if it's a good news or a bad news. You will never ever in your life feel that you've arrived where you wanted to arrive and now everything is certain. You will never ever feel that.
Yeah, that's true. I got it. Yeah.
Sorry for the loaded response.
That's okay.
But wonderful one, a powerful one, I must say. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Nagendra, can I add a point here?
Yeah, sure, Raj. Yeah.
Yeah, the reply he gave was a very insightful reply for a loaded question. But the point we are trying to make is, when the person is self-motivated and then when he is geared up for progress in life, is where we can kind of give some tips and suggestions for surmounting difficulties. Okay.
Yeah.
When a person like Sushant is unable to overcome the psychological problems, meaning he has got something which is he is overwhelmed by, which is beyond his control, then he falls outside the realms of objectivity and slips into the subjective mode. And there, for people like us, there is very little that we can directly contribute, because it is a psychologist's territory, psychologist or psychoanalyst who can help them, not management experts, not organizational change experts, not personality developers. You understand? Okay.
Yeah, I got it, Raj. That is Sushant is just an example for one of the uncertainty for him. But there will be different kinds of uncertainties in the life. Okay. So talking in that perspective, I thought like, suppose today we are lucky to have this session, right? So we know, suppose there might be people who know about this already, and the people who doesn't know about this topic, how to solve the issues or resolve their problems or their uncertainties, how Murid has explained. But my question was like, in the world population, right? So there are very few guys like Murid who can come forward and do the webinars, and they what you call like they motivate the people. Okay. So for rest of the thing, for the rest of the guys, when you say like from studying from the 10th grade, okay, if they are in studying, they have uncertainties, they may feel in studies. Okay. Suppose if they are working in a different department, they may feel some uncertainties in that department. So that is, each department, or when they are talking about studies, is an organization, right? Education is one organization. Suppose if you work in municipality, in the government sector, that is something different. The people who work there, they have their own uncertainty. So like how Mudit has taken his time to explain us, there should be someone to keep on doing these kind of sessions in those departments and make sure not to happen such things repeatedly. So that way we can control, at least if not 100%, at least 5%, I believe. So in that way, I was thinking of, so I was looking for that actually.
Yeah, that is correct. Because, sometimes the counseling will have to take over when you are overwhelmed, when you are not in control of the factors. When you feel that you are out of control, then you need to seek some external help, some counseling, some psychoanalyst therapists, where people can go deep into your mind and address those fears and insecurities. So for those kind of problems, like the way this actor had, that Sushant had, we are looking at a different level of solution. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Raj and Nagendra. We never know who can motivate us or give us that one aha moment or one spark that changes our life. So it can happen from anywhere, from Mudit, from therapist, from your next door neighbor. So thank you so much, Mudit, for being so patient. We are 10 minutes past the hour, but I have a final question for you, Mudit. What is your motivation? You have been, very successful in at a very young age. So this is my personal, want to know it. from a personal point of view, not because you have changed your career. So there was quite a bit of uncertainty, I feel, which would others trying to take that jump would get or feel. So what is your motivation?
I think that's a beautiful question, Julian, and really tough questions on today's webinar. As compared to the ones I usually have. So, so thanks
you
to...
said ask question, ask why. You gave the monkey story, so you are on it.
Nagendra, Pierre, Raj, Srini, all of you, and Julian, now you have asked me really insightful questions, and really, okay, talking about the uncertainty aspect. Ultimately, I'm a private practitioner running an organization. I have staff members to pay, and as you would understand, as consultants, what I do is coaching for executives. But it hurts sometimes when, for example, I was speaking to one of the HR professionals of one of my client organizations just last week, and they said, "Well, we don't know if we'll be able to renew these coaching contracts because we're not sure if we'll have to lay off some of the clients that you're working with." And it hurt me a lot on an emotional level because it was not about the contracts that I had, but about what can happen to these people that they have no clue about. So if you ask me this question on what is my motivation on different times of different days, Shulan, I'm really sorry to say that my answer can actually be different. And I am, I think, no better than anybody else in the world in that way, because my motivation right now in this session is, in all honesty, just to make this 1 hour work for you. Because before I logged on at 9:18 before anybody else did, because my motivation was that, all right, there are so many people joining from whatever they're doing right now on this session. I just want to make this 1 hour worth it for them in terms of value, because you could do anything in your life in the last 1 hour. You could have caught up on your favorite show on Netflix, something else, just relax, played a game, but you attended the session. And so my motivation right now in this session was to make sure that I add enough value for each one who's attending the session and they go back with something. Once the session's done, my motivation until the evening will be to make sure I sleep in time so that I can wake up at 5 a.m. At 5 a.m. is going to be to create something of value, to have some thought and silence to myself. Every morning I practice silence and journaling so that all of these thoughts and all of the things that I'm reading come together. And so I wish I had one single point of motivation. I just take it by, not even by the day, by the hour. What am I doing right now? And in this small decision, what is a small decision that I can make right now that will be the best decision that I can take in this moment? So that's a level of long-term thinking that I don't do, and try to bring it to as much micro thinking and micro decision making as possible.
Wow. Thank you for that. It's so relatable. It's like if you would have said my motivation was a big shot, something which I cannot even, we cannot relate or do. But this is what exactly, to some extent, I do it. So I could totally relate. And I think every one of us can do it as well. So such a big thing. Very simple, but a big realization and motivation to look forward to, I guess. So any other question, comments?
Yeah, Julian.
Yeah, Chandu, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Mudit Yadav. That was a very simple and energetic presentation, and it's very good.
Thanks,
and my question is, like, what is the most unsettling situation for you that happened, and how did you overcome from that? As Julian asked, your motivation will be changed to hour and hour. So how did you deal with that situation, the most difficult, unsettling situation in your life?
A really interesting question, Chandu, and adding to the difficulty level of the other questions as well. I think in my life, my failures are very public. So in pre-COVID times, when I actually used to go and deliver speeches in venues of more than 500 or 1,000 people, there is always uncertainty as to the reception of what I'm saying. And Chandu, I just go back as you asked me this question to my first TEDx talk, which was in 2016. And before that TEDx talk, I had done about 800,000 seminars and speeches and workshops across the world. And before I'm going on stage, I have to go on stage in the next 10 minutes. Chandu, I'm behind backstage. I am shivering. I'm sweating like crazy. Now imagine the pressure on the organizer, right? And they're thinking, man, this guy is going to bomb our TEDx conference. And we've been working on this since 8 months. And, we thought he's going to do a great job. And they come to me and they ask me, Mudit, are you okay? Are you all right? Can we get you some water? Can we put on another fan here? And I just had to tell them, listen, if I won't be like this here, I won't be like that on stage. And if you watch that TEDx talk, I think it's called Make Yourself Uncomfortable from 2016. I'm not having a beard and I'm a few kgs thicker than I am right now. You wouldn't see me shivering or you wouldn't see me sweating on stage. You would feel as if, I'm any other normal presenter. And the reason is that before stage, I was able to understand that I'm feeling uncertain about my performance and I was able to accept it. And this happens before every keynote, before every session, before any coaching, that I feel uncertain about how this is going to turn out and what can I do. And every time I tell myself, I just have to focus on one thing, and that is trying to provide as much value to the audience as possible, because what I cannot control is the audience reaction. What I can control is the amount of value that I want to provide to the audience. And so that is how, in small ways, I feel uncertain about different things and I try to avoid it.
Thank you.
Wow. So true. And I did hear that TEDx talk. Chandu, I would highly recommend, all of you to hear that. It's wonderful.
Give them a break, Julan.
I cannot tell you how perfect timing was today for your talk, so that we have now 3 days to think and to just go over it in our mind and in silence. Yes. So in the chat, we have some comments. Necessity is the mother of invention. Srini saying a new word learned. Yes, I know he's excited about that. Raj says extensive remote work is a result of COVID-19. Deepa saying excellent talk, mind-blowing. Would love to hear you again some other day. Thank you. And I know, Deepa, it's like almost don't stop, Mudit, go on more. So I totally relate to that. Thanks you so
Julan.
much.
I think Chandu has just shared a YouTube link. I think it must have been a TEDx talk. Julan, before you close, if anybody has any more questions or they would love to know more, I've dropped the link to the book that I've written recently after 3.5 years of work and my LinkedIn profile in the chat. So feel free to connect and ask any question at any point in time. Julan, sorry for interrupting you. Please, back to you.
No, please, absolutely. Like I was the one. Thank God you shared something. Otherwise, I was the person who was trying to. Thank you so much for sharing. I totally forgot that. And everybody, you can please just copy. It's in the chat, and then you can go ahead. Thank you so much, Mudit, for this wonderful session. I mean, I cannot thank you enough. But hope we will have you again on the show. And for the next week, we have 3 webinars coming up. July 7th on conquering the chaos, effortlessly generate and nurture leads from a digital marketer. And on July 8th, Wednesday, we have overview of API management. July 9th, we have the inclusion illusion, the opportunity to not only survive, but thrive in this society. And from next week, it will be the start of our Let Us Talk It youth session on Fridays. That the first one will be July July 10th at 12 p.m. EST. The topic would be how are the teens planning, managing their schedule during COVID. I think they are the students have been affected the most in respect to their schedule, the way they used to go to school and come back, and now things have changed. So it will be an intense conversation with a team of, youths here. So absolutely excited for next week. And we end this session today. Thank you once again, Mudit. And hope every one of you, thank you for joining in, and stay healthy and have a rest of the weekend. Super special for all the people from India, from US, and have the rest of the day lovely. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a good one.